Morning, everybody. Welcome back, Borderview Farms. I'm Nathan, and it's a new week. Same old project, though, kind of. So, it is Monday morning. First thing today, it's 8 o'clock, so any minute now. I expect our tire guy to be here. We're going to put new front shoes on this tractor. We've also, if you'll remember, got to get our 8430 in here, which on Friday I told you was going to happen over the weekend. It is not in here, because it wouldn't start when I tried to do it on Friday. So I put the battery charger on it, and then I never made it back this weekend to move it, and so I just went back and plugged the engine block heater in because it is cold out. It's about 10 degrees outside. So hopefully here in an hour or so, we'll be able to get that tractor moved around and get it in here. But tires is the plan this morning, and hopefully he gets here pretty soon, and we'll get to starting on that. While I'm waiting for our tires to get here, I think I can jack the front end of this tractor up and maybe even let the air out of them outside too. So he's here. Okay, well, I'm not sure how any of that got filmed, but as you can see, we have two new front tires. Yeah, basically he said he had another job he needed to get to. He was supposed to go, the guy called him, wanted him to come yesterday, and he couldn't make it, but he didn't have time to do all four, which is fine. I got to take these outer duals off to check the hub oil anyway, so I'll just leave them off, and then he can come back and do the inside tires. So I didn't realize it before, but these tires, the new ones that we put on, they're a Firestone tire, and they are designed for a 13-inch rim. Our rims from the factory with the same size tires, just Goodyears, are 15-inch rim, which meant they were going to be very, very difficult to mount. So we ended up putting tubes in them, which I'm not thrilled about. But what are you going to do? You got to get the tires on there somehow, and we don't have the big blaster equipment and stuff to be able to seat the beads and stuff and get the air in there fast enough without putting a tube in. So it shouldn't really be that big a deal. It doesn't really matter, but that's what the situation is. So we've got two of them on, and we're putting tubes in all. It'll be in all four of them. The plan for the rest of today is to take off these outer duals and the spacers, check that hub oil like we did on the 8430, and then we'll just set these tires off to the side so that we can leave them off, and then you'll be able to get to the inside ones to change those. I don't know that he's going to come back tomorrow morning. I think it might actually be Wednesday in a couple of days, because he had to get tubes in for these inside two. He had two for the tires he bought, but he didn't have any more in stock, so he'll get them in tomorrow and then probably come Wednesday morning, which is fine. So that's the plan, I guess. So I was working on jacking these tires up enough that I can spin them. Look how high that tire is just to get that one off the ground. Think that tread will make some difference? I would say so. I'm starting to make a habit out of doing two-handed jobs one-handed so I can film them. Okay, I've got this tire off. I think I'm going to just take it off and try and roll it back and set it next to the rear tire. Then we got to get this spacer off. And then we should be good. Well, I went ahead and took off that spacer, and I also took that one off. So it's just the 2 bolts there holding that tire on now. Basically, it'll be easier to get to this tire to change it. So that's why I did that. I need to check this oil level now. Basically, we pull this plug out and then rotate the tire until this line is level and see if there's oil there. If not, we add a little bit, and if it is, we put the plug back in and we call it good. Oh, right there. So that's good. So while I've got this stuff apart, I'm going to very carefully, with a hose, wash some of this stuff off this rim. Just a little of that dirt that I couldn't get to before, but I don't really want to splatter any on my nice, pretty, shiny hood that I did last week. So, yeah, very carefully. Got the tire off the other side and the 2 spacers. So now I need to check that hub level too. Okay, that hub oil level is good as well. We changed that a year ago, so I was expecting them to be fine, but they do leak sometimes, so one of the things you got to check. I'm going to get a hose and get stuff like this dirt and clean that up, and then it'll be lunchtime. All right, guys, I am back from lunch. The next thing we need to do to this tractor is to grease this fan drive. If you remember from the 8430, there's a variable speed shiv in here that changes the fan speed, basically depending on how fast it needs to run to keep the tractor cool. But we've got to grease them. The shivs in there kind of slide past each other. They need some grease on them. This one is a little bit different than the 8430. First of all, we're on the opposite side of the tractor than where that one is. We've got to do basically the same thing though. Take this front half of the shiv off, and then the plug for this one is actually behind it. It's not underneath the belt like the 8430. So we'll take those apart and do that one, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, there's a plug on the center of the fan hub as well, so we'll have to grease in there too. All right, there's the front half of the shiv pulley. I got the 2 plugs out. One that was in that hole, I put a grease zerk in, and the other one was in that hole, and that's the one we kind of watch to see when we can see the grease. I watch to see when the grease starts coming out, but apparently you're supposed to just watch until you can see it moving in there. So that's the plan. Remember, we use our special fancy cornhead grease. Yeah, thanks for that air compressor. Anyway, I'm going to pump the grease in there. All right, I got that one greased up. Put the plugs back in. Yeah, that one's good. And then I took that plug out right there. And also one where that grease zerk is there. Look, dirt. No way to get to that power washer. Anyway, I put that one in. I've got to grease it as well. This one took about 65 pumps of grease. We'll see if that one takes as much. And of course, while I'm greasing, the hardest one to get to, the grease gun runs out of grease. Let's hope we got some more cornhead grease. Last tube. And look, see, they actually call it cornhead grease. Well, the plugs are back in on both. That one took, what did I count, 34 pumps, I think. So not as much as this one. Yeah, time to put it back together. Basically just put this belt back up here and put the other half of that pulley on. The trick is trying to not pinch the belt so that you can get it to tighten up properly without pinching the belt so tight that it won't move. All right, got that all back together. On to the next, whatever we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna drag the power washer back out and clean up these shields so we can get them put back on the tractor. It's over here. I always tell myself I'll be super careful when I'm doing this and I won't get wet, so I don't need to put my boots or my pants on, but somehow I still get soaked every time. What are you gonna do? All right, I'm gonna let these dry off for a little bit here, and then we'll start putting some stuff back on the tractor. Okay, time to put this stuff back on the tractor. Shouldn't really take that long. Most of it goes on pretty quick. All right, I got most all those pieces put back on, side shields and such. Just this one that goes on the back that I got left to do, and I'm working on that. Wanted to clean it up. I'm actually going to put a coat of wax on it before I stick it on there, because it's a lot easier to do now than when it's on that back panel. So, yeah. Oh, also, the other day when I was here, I had a few minutes, so I painted this spot on this fenders. You can still see it a little bit. I'm going to blend that as best I can, but I'm going to put another coat of paint on there, and at least it's not a big black spot on the fender. Well, now that I'm done putting those shields back on and I'm kind of feeling lazy and not really wanting to do much more to this tractor today, I'm going to move some stuff around and get that other tractor in here like I said I was going to do the other day and didn't happen to get done. But we'll go ahead and do that. I don't think we need the backhoe in here anymore, so I am going to take those two tires, the ones we changed this morning, out. So I'm going to use the backhoe to do that. We'll just put them outside somewhere for now because they're junk. And then we'll put the backhoe in the shed in the back, and we'll bring that 8430 back around here so that we can get to that, to work on that tire when he gets here Wednesday. I tell you what, this cold weather stuff sucks. I don't know how you guys in Minnesota and North Dakota deal with it. Backhoe's been sitting out here for like 4 or 5 hours, which I guess it's cold, but good grief, it isn't even that cold out here today. 20 something, and it won't start. So we'll plug it in for a while, let it warm up, try it again. In the meantime, let's try this one again. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh. Looks like we might be buying some batteries before spring. Give it a minute. You see that? Bird crap on my window. It was all nice and clean. That ticks me off. I think we're going to be buying some batteries before spring comes. Well, by the time this one starts, maybe the backhoe will start too. To be fair to that 8430, I don't see anything in the book written about the last time that we changed batteries was. And there's nothing written on the batteries, how old they are. So I'm not saying they are, but if those batteries are original from 2009 and we got 10 or 11 years out of them, we did pretty well. That's pretty good. So it's not that big a deal if we got to replace those batteries. The batteries in this tractor, which we were having some trouble with, but I think are okay now. We'll see. It's not cold in here, so tough to tell exactly, but those were from 2014. So if I got to change those, also not the end of the world. 6 years is pretty good on a set of batteries, or at least I'm happy with that. So is what it is. Try this backhoe again. Oh. There we go. Warm engine block makes all the difference when you're cold starting, I guess. Alright, I'm going to see if I can load these tires up. By the way, you found the only piece of case equipment that we have, and it's not even red. I guess we're going to do them one at a time. Think I can stack them? Not too bad. Now, let's see if we're as lucky with this tractor. What a deal. All right. I got them both in the shop. I think I'm going to get that battery charger out of the back and put it back on this tractor and just let it run for a little bit. I know I should just replace the batteries, but my theory is that I run them down by starting them and just running them for short periods of time when I'm changing oil and stuff in the shop. Plus it's cold, that's hard on the batteries. If they just get fully charged and they sit and then when we come to spring and we're running them every day, then we don't have any trouble and they're probably still good. I'm probably wrong on that, but at least that's my attempt to save some money and not have to buy 4 batteries right now. All right, guys, it is almost 5 o'clock, so I'm pretty well done for the day and heading home here pretty soon. I did want to take just a second, though, and show you another one of the spreadsheets that I've been working on. I showed you that chemical cost comparison one that I've done, but I've got some other ones that are pretty cool, and this is one of them. There's going to be a lot of information here on this and a lot of stuff. I'll kind of walk you through it a little bit without giving you too much detail because, well, you guys just don't need to know all that much. Okay. So this spreadsheet is my field rankings spreadsheet. So basically, I have all of the data that we have from when I first started recording yield monitor data, basically back in 2008, all the way through 2019, which you'll see all these blanks. Those are prevent plant fields this year. And basically what I have done is ranked them. I put the crop that was in the field. For example, we'll go to some of the 2019 data here. So this column is 2019. So you'll see that we put in the crop and what the yield was. And then this column here is a percentage of our average. So down at the bottom, I've got some totals from what our averages were. And then it's got a formula to calculate that out. And basically the colors mean anything that's blue was at least 15% above average. Anything that's green was 5 to 15% above. Yellow was within 5% of the average. Red, 5 to 15 below, or I'm sorry, orange, 5 to 15 below. And anything in red was less than 85% basically of our average. So it kind of shows, you know, what fields performed well, what fields performed poorly over the years. And then at the end here, I split it out by crop, and it tells me which fields are typically, historically, our best fields for each crop. For example, this one here is our best corn field. This one here is our best bean field. And our best wheat one is up here. So the more blue and greens, the better the field is. The more reds and oranges, the poorer it is. Kind of helps us differentiate which fields you know, have the most potential and stuff. So, but from this data, then I've also got a spreadsheet. This has got our historical data going all the way back to 1997. And then I can calculate out 5-year yields, you know, yields over time with a trend line. So I can tell how much we're gaining, and then 5-year average yields. So what our average was for 5 years previous to whatever year we're talking about. So those lines don't vary quite as much. It's much more stable. Pretty good trend lines on them. You know, our corn trend line on the 5-year average is up by 4.2 bushels per year. That's pretty substantial. So, and that's over basically 11 years of data. I tend to be a fairly analytical type of person, if you haven't figured that out. So the more data and information that I have to make decisions, the better. This really helps me with figuring out inputs and which fields I can push a little bit harder than others, which ones to expect things to do well and which ones to not, as well as just kind of how we're performing over time. Obviously, the weather is the biggest determining factor on how our crops are going to be in any given year, but still, with time, we're trending in the right direction, which is always positive. That's what we want to see, right? So it certainly also helps with planning and what to expect, you know, figuring out what your trend line yield is. You guys got any questions on that? Feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm not really willing to share a ton of data off of that for our own farm, but I will share how I made it and works. And, you know, if you guys want to try and fill something out for yourself, I'm more than willing to help with that. All right. With that, have a good night, guys. Tomorrow's plan is just to keep working on that tractor. We've got to clean the cab out, put that back shield on. I want to wash windows and put that ceramic coating on the windshield and the fenders and stuff, and then we'll get it all cleaned up pretty well ready to go so that Wednesday morning when he comes and puts the tires on, we'll be done with it. So outside of that, I don't know what else is going on. Maybe I'll go out and do a little bit of seed stuff in the afternoon if I can get the tractor wrapped up in the morning. So we'll see. But anyway, have a good night. Hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow. Feel free to leave comments. Find me on Instagram and Facebook. See you. Have a good night.